what you're going to learn is what are some of the pieces of information that you need to know when you look at any market. Pieces of information that investors or users of commercial real estate might need to make good decisions. There's nothing that will allow you to learn your market faster than creating a report like this. It'll help you develop relationships with owners and tenants, appraisers, lenders, and all these people that you can get information from. Hey, this is Bo Barron, CCIM, owner and managing director of Barron Commercial Group. And this is...
Look what I found.
Timmy. Timmy.
I'm Timmy Barron, ADHD. I'm an actor and a comedian. And Bo is teaching me all about
Commercial real estate.
Commercial real estate, because this is Commercially Speaking.
Thank you.
Let's jump into talking about quarterly market reports.
Yeah, okay.
This is going to be a visual-heavy episode, right, Bo?
It is. However you listen to the episodes of our podcast, which we're very grateful for, this is an episode where it's really going to benefit you if you go over to YouTube or if you do it, if you watch or listen on Spotify. If you're not able to watch it or if you just want access yourself, then you'll be able to click on that link in the show notes and it'll take you right there.
Well, Bo, I'm just on the edge of my seat right now. What is it? What could it be?
You might have heard me tell you this before. Commercial real estate in Arabic is akarat. The Arabic language is contextual, and so a word has different meanings, and it's the context the word is used in that allows the listener or the hearer to understand what that word means in that context. English is not this way. In English, a desk is a desk, and you don't need to understand the context of what I'm talking about to understand what I mean when I say desk. Mm-hmm. It just means desk. So one of the secondary definitions of the word akarat is drugs. And so you wouldn't exactly say ana simsar lil baywa sharat al akarat, which is a butchering of the way you should say that. So I'm either saying I'm a real estate broker or I'm saying I'm a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And you don't know unless you can see me, if you can see how I'm dressed, like we are recording an episode of a commercial real estate podcast right now. So the context screams, hey, he's talking about commercial real estate, not illegal drugs. What an investor needs when they're looking at a market is context. They need to understand the macroeconomic context. What's the economy doing nationally? And then they need to know at a high level, what's the context of this local market? And I want to give credit to my buddy Michael Hieronymus. He came up with this model of a market report using story maps. For all of you who live outside of Davis County, Kentucky, you're about to learn a lot about Owensboro. But more than that, what you're going to learn is what are some of the pieces of information that you need to know when you look at any market. The challenge when you're in a smaller market is a lot of the sources of information cover the larger markets and kind of ignore smaller markets like ours because that makes business sense to them. Getting that information yourself will help you learn your market cold. Like you'll know it better than anybody else if you do it yourself. If you buy the information, everybody has that information. So what real competitive advantage do you have?
And you're staying on top of it as things change.
Yep, absolutely. Right? Well, you ready? You want to jump in here?
Let's jump in.
All right. Again, thank you to Michael Hieronymus at Duck Ridge Realty Advisory for showing me what's possible here. This is Davis County, Kentucky. This is the Owensboro Riverfront.
Gosh.
What we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at the national economy, then get into Owensboro, and then I'm going to show you retail, industrial, office, and multifamily at a high level. Timmy, do you remember when we talked about CREPI when we had Casey Conway on?
Yeah.
He was one of the creators of the CREPI Index.
This was the thing that he was really wanting the Federal Reserve to look at. This is the information that is forward-looking.
Our goal was to see if we could find just 10 simple indicators that all look out the window, put them together in an algorithm that's very predictive. So we did that, and you can go to sitetodobusiness.com/CREPI, CREPI, and it's all free and it's all transparent, unlike the Fed. And so we back tested it back to the last century, and we never missed a downturn or an uptick in the market.
It would have given an indication that the Great Recession was coming. It's giving us context to where we are as a national economy. But here's what you got to remember. Real estate is local. So you need to understand the national context and then understand the local market because it may tell a different story. Now, the Fed FRED is the Federal Reserve data, and this is from the St. Louis Fed specifically. And this is just showing our GDP, our gross domestic product, which is an indication of all the stuff that we make and produce in a year in the United States. All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the GDP is. And it's highly indicative of how we're doing. And when you're looking at FRED graphs, see these gray areas?
Yeah.
Those are our recessionary periods. Okay. So coming out of the 1980s, 1982, 1981, here's the Great Recession right here, 2008 to about 2010. We see this V-shape dip in recovery that we understand was COVID. And you can see coming out of COVID, it has continued to go up and to the right. In these last couple quarters, it's still going up and to the right, but it's kind of flat. But this, again, it just sets the backdrop in the context of the market that Owensboro, Kentucky lives in. This one I think is pretty cool. This shows your map of the United States. And Timmy, you're in Illinois. What this is telling me, the unemployment rate has dropped by 0.3% since last year. You look at Kentucky, we're even.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the same as it was a year ago. Now, this one's pretty interesting, I should say. This is the employment rate for people who are age 25 to 54, all people in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
If we get to 1990, we were at about 80%. We had a recession, employment went down, continued to go up till the early 2000s. We had a recession. The Great Recession, we went into the Great Recession with about 80% employment, and it dropped all the way down to 75%. Coming out of the Great Recession. And again, COVID, we were about 80.5%. Employment drops all the way down to about 70% and bounces right back up. We're about now, right where we were when COVID hit, about 80.5%. This is the composite leading indicator, and it's designed to provide early signals of turning points in the business cycles, and it is qualitative instead of quantitative.
That would be quality versus quantity kind of thing?
Yeah, so this is how do people feel about how things are going, as opposed to what do the numbers tell us?
And so what is this, polling?
I'm not sure how they do this.
We got to get Casey back in here.
And what we're seeing, we came out of COVID, federal government dumped all that money into the market. We saw this bump, and now we've been going back. And it looks like, according to the CLI, that we might be leveling off and coming back up. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, he could definitely tell us. Now let's look at the Owensboro market specifically. Here's a community profile of Davis County, Kentucky. Again, this is interactive, and so we can go through here and see 18% of homeowners in our community have homes that are valued at $250,000. 18% again have annual incomes of $75,000. So this just gives you some overall demographic data of what Owensboro looks like. And then here we've got some FRED data, but this is specific to the unemployment rate in Owensboro. What we see here, as of April 2023, we're at 4%, which is just 0.3% higher than it was the previous January. So we're basically we're at a low unemployment, which is good. This is a strong sign for the local economies. Workers remain in high demand and wages continue to increase.
So what we were just looking at, unemployment, not employment.
So the unemployment rate here is 4%.
Yeah. So we want that to be low.
We do, but we don't want it to be too low. You need 3.5% of unemployment so that there are people available for new jobs.
Oh, right.
If there was zero unemployment, everybody would kind of be locked into the job that they have. Just like every apartment market needs some vacancy in case you want to move. There's actually some inventory. There's some options. Same thing with the job market. We need a little bit of unemployment just to grease the gears of the market. When we look at total jobs, these are total non-farm jobs, we can see that going into COVID, there are about 43,400 jobs in Owensboro. And right now, there's 52,500. So we have 900 less jobs or less people working in Owensboro than we had going into COVID. So we're still not back to pre-pandemic levels. And a lot of that has to do with companies were forced to become as efficient as possible, and they're doing more with less people. And that's a trend we see all over the United States. Now, enough about that. Let's jump into retail and talk about what retail looks like in Owensboro, Kentucky. Any of you listeners aren't from here, and you've heard me talk about how small my market is. You're about to learn exactly how small. In Owensboro, we have 8.3 million square feet of retail. That's it. The overall market rent is $16.45 per square feet, and the vacancy rate's 4.5%. So we don't have a lot of inventory. We don't have a lot of vacancy. Yeah, let's zoom in here so we can see our different markets on the map. This South Frederica market, this was our number one retail area. It's not true anymore. Now it's our secondary retail market area. And what we see here is the South Frederica market, submarket, I should say, has 2.1 million square feet. You still got the mall, which is being repurposed right now and is mostly vacant. You got a Super Walmart. You've got, a power center with the obligatory Target, Best Buy, Ulta, PetSmart. And we've got about 7.7% of vacancy out here. And the rent is $15.74 per square feet, which is actually up 5.5% over last year. Now, if you come to Owensboro and you read that sign and you say Frederica, we know you ain't from here.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And you'll get a big old hug. Welcome to Owensboro, Kentucky.
That's right.
Frederica, this is a nice way of saying we've got an eye on you. We will kick your ass.
Now, what used to be our secondary market is now our primary retail market. And this is at Highway 54, the east side of town. It's now our largest retail submarket at 2.2 million square feet. And there's more in the pipeline. So this is continuing to be built out and will continue to grow. We've got another Super Walmart out here. This is where the movie theater relocated to. Yeah. You've got a lot of restaurants. You've got Hobby Lobby, Cheddar's. Yeah.
Right before this started to boom. It was
they were kind of the first ones. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had just moved recently, and then coming back every year, it was like boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
It's like, dang, people like Cheddar's.
That's right. But here we've got 2.2 million square feet, and the submarket rent out here is significantly higher. It's $19.35 per square feet, and that's up 5% over last year, 4.9%.
Wow. And
if you're going into the newer product, like the stuff that's just being built, you're looking at $25 a square foot or maybe even higher.
Yeah.
But when you take in this submarket as a whole, we're at about $19.35 per square feet, and the submarket vacancy is 4.6%. So there's not a lot of vacancy out here. If you want to be out here, you don't have a lot of options, which is why we continue to have more development, which is good. The third retail submarket's on the west side of town. This is the West Parish submarket. It's a lot smaller, 606,000 square feet. The rents are a lot lower, $13.85 per square feet, which is up over 5% from last year. There's the lowest amount of vacancy in this submarket at 2.8%. And a lot of that has to do with the rents are just lower out here. There's not as much inventory. There's more retail scattered throughout, but generally, most retailers are wanting to go in one of those three submarkets. And that just gives you an overview of what retail looks like in Owensboro, Kentucky. We also have three main submarkets of industrial in Owensboro, 4.8 million square feet of industrial space in Owensboro. That's not much. It's very tight. Like you can see the market vacancy is less than 1%.
Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. Industrial rents have gone up a ton very quickly because this, industrial was the big winner out of COVID. Lots and lots of demand. And just look at the highways. They end in Owensboro. You almost have to go here on purpose. And because of that, and because we only have about 100,000 people, it's not a great distribution market for industrial facilities. But we do have some, and it's all basically full. Almost all of it is owner-user, meaning the companies that own the building actually use the building. There's not a lot of product that's owned by investors and leased to companies.
Are we talking like Ragu?
Well,
would that be an industrial?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ragu specifically, and I'll show you that submarket here in a minute. Just about all the red sauce that Ragu makes and ships around the world, they make here in Owensboro. And Ragu is owned by a company called Mizcon now. They own it themselves. And that's what normal looks like in our market. Here is submarket number one. This is the Riverport submarket. There's about 1 million square feet of industrial here. It leases at about $6.27 per square feet. That's
such a difference between the square foot cost of retail and industrial.
Yeah, the rent is a lot lower for industrial, but the cost to build is also a lot lower.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot simpler to do. It's not simple, but it's easier to build.
That's enough for me.
Okay.
That's enough for me.
So 1 million square feet in this submarket, $6.27 a square foot. It's up 11%, and there's 2% vacancy in this submarket, which is really, really low. When you get out to the air park, this is an industrial park right by the airport. We call it the air park submarket. There's just under 1 million square feet out here. It rents at $6.14 per square feet, up over 11% from last year. And again, most of it is owner user here as well. But there is zero vacancy in this submarket. Wow. And then here's the Ragu plant. Like, that's a picture of it right there. This is the east side of town. There's 1.3 million square feet. This is older product. This is probably the oldest industrial area of town. Its rents are lower because the product is older. So those buildings are just older, just under $6 a square feet, also up over 11%. And we only have 0.6% vacancy here. So a very, very tight submarket. But most communities of our size are better located as distribution hubs and would generally have more retail. Now think about Bowling Green, Kentucky. They're an hour south of us. They're on I-65. They're a direct shot. They're right in the middle of Louisville and Nashville. Mm-hmm. You've got Western Kentucky University, which is a large land grant university in Kentucky, and they've got maybe double or triple the amount of industrial square footage than Owensboro has. And they continue to grow because they're just they're well located on an interstate in between major markets, and it makes a lot of sense as a distribution point. And I have Bowling Green envy.
Totally.
Yep.
Well, who knows? In 50 years, we'll have like tunnels that Elon Musk built where we could just ship anything to anywhere.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe so. Cool.
Well, let's talk a little bit about office, and we can introduce a new term called absorption. Owensboro, as an office market, we've got about 2.5 million square feet of office. The market rent here is just under $20. This is on a gross basis, where the other rents that we've looked at were on a triple net basis. Now, based on our previous episode when we talked about leases, Timmy, what's the difference between a triple net lease and a gross lease?
Triple net lease is good if you're the landlord because that divvies out a lot of the taxes and to all the tenants. All the tenants are responsible for all the costs that would come with the building.
Yes.
Is that right?
So and then you get to pass through those expenses on a proportionate basis to your tenants. Yep.
Yeah. And the gross lease is just gross because for the landlord, because that puts all that puts it all on the landlord's shoulders. They don't necessarily get to pass through. However, it will reflect in their monthly what they charge for rent monthly more often than not.
Yeah, meaning gross leases generally all have higher rents. And this is what we see right here. Market rent for office in Owensboro is about just under $20 a square foot. But on a gross basis, when you add in all that other stuff, this is the average right here. There's 13.7% vacancy. So we've got a lot more vacancy in office. Now that makes a ton of sense with all the people that have been sent home. And absorption, we have negative 166,000 square feet. Now, have we talked about absorption at all? Do you know what absorption is?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess I could take a guess.
Well, guess.
It's where you absorb space that would have change of use. You would change the use of a space that you absorb. Well, maybe? I don't know.
No, you're not going to change the use, but it goes from vacant to occupied. So think about a sink with some water in it. Mm-hmm. All right. That water is vacant space, and you put a sponge in there and it absorbs some of it up and it becomes occupied. That's what absorption is.
Let me pop in just for a second because I think that analogy was absolutely horrible. The water in the tub or in the sink is not vacancy. The vacancy is the air that's within the pores of the porous sponge. And then the pores get filled up with water because the water is absorbed in the sponge. That's way better. Maybe that's what you meant, Bo, but awful. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.
And so what we've seen over the last year is 166,000 square feet has become vacant. That's negative absorption. So we've got 166,000 square feet that's vacant that we didn't have before.
Got it.
And 115,000 of that is one property. U.S. Bank gave up 115,000 square feet of space. The Davis County Public School System is buying it, but right now it's vacant. So it will be reabsorbed. And so when we look at this a year from now, at this number, 115,000 square feet of that space is going to be reabsorbed right away within the next year. But that's what that number tells us.
Are one of the schools moving in there? Are they creating a new school?
No, it's the Davis County Public School System, like the central office is moving in there.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
The kids,
so
kids will not be learning in this building.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. Now, if you look at the Central Business District, CBD, downtown Owensboro, right? There's
CBD.
The original CBD, the Central Business District. There's just under 550,000 square feet of office. The submarket rent there is $20.55 per square feet on a gross basis. That's up just over 3%. There's 10% vacancy downtown, and we've got negative absorption downtown of 39,000 square feet. There's really not another office submarket in Owensboro. You got CBD, and then you kind of got everything else. Yeah. It's just scattered around.
Sure.
So it's the only submarket that I really looked at. Now let's look at multifamily in Owensboro.
We went from CBD to MF.
That's right. I don't know why it's not giving me my map view here, but in Owensboro, we've got about 3,300 units of apartments, and not a lot for a market our size. And the average market rent is $788 per month. So we're talking about everything combined. I'm not segmenting this out by amount of bedrooms or class A, B, or C, like we talked about in our last episode there, Christopher. We're just talking about overall market rent, $788 a month, which most of the United States is crying right now at how low that is compared to their market.
I know. I'm like, what the heck? That would buy... Or that you could live in like half a room.
Oh, yeah.
Here in Chicago.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, we've got high occupancy, only 4% vacancy. And the price per unit for sales over the last year has been $80,000 per unit. So on the sales that have happened, the average price per unit is about $80,000 a square foot. 10 years ago, that would have been $40,000.
Wow.
Dollars per unit. It's really gone up over the last 5-6 years. Rents have gone up tremendously.
Go ahead.
Yeah, everywhere, but Owensboro too. It was really low. Like I remember when I bought my first apartment building, it was a 12-unit apartment complex, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and they were renting for like $475 a month, and that was just I don't know, 14 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Owensboro could use more apartments for sure. For sure. There's demand for it. We could use some more.
Owensboro needs more apartments. You and I talked off the record, which I'll probably keep this off the record, about apartments coming into Owensboro. Are you still excited about what you talked to me about? Yeah, very much so.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it off the record.
Yeah, if you happen to hear that little snippet of shrouded conversation right there, and you might want to be involved in something pretty exciting in Owensboro, just holler at me.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right. How about a quickie quiz?
Yeah.
Quickie Quiz.
All right. Question 1. Why is it important to understand the macroeconomic or national view of the economy when you're analyzing, when you're looking at a specific market? Why does it matter what's going on nationally?
Well, it's probably not the specific answer you're looking for, but you've got to compare it.
One word.
That helps. Fred. It's not Fred. All right, ask me the question again.
What one word describes why it's important to understand the national economy, the macroeconomic environment, when you're considering a market?
God, this is a good question. There's demand?
Context. It provides the context.
Context. You had...
In fact, it's very, very difficult to analyze a market without the context of what's going on around it.
Yeah. Man, I remember too, you had that analogy with the sponge. Oh, no, that was for vacancy.
Sort of.
Which we got to work on that analogy. I wanted to.
The context was the story about real estate broker or drug dealer.
Right. Yes.
Did you know one time I got the cops called on me because some old lady thought I was a drug dealer? Have I ever told you about that?
Say more. I don't think so.
Okay. part of what you do when you're a commercial real estate broker is you will canvass the properties that you're wanting to win the business of. And what that means is you'll get your boots on the ground. And so I would drive around to these apartment complexes and actually park, walk around just a little bit and get a feel for it. Is there deferred maintenance? Is it kept up? And so when I called the owner to prospect for new business, I could speak intelligently about their property because I'd actually seen it with my own eyes. So I was at a C apartment complex, so older, a little bit more rundown. And at the time I drove an Acura TL, like a black, it had a fin. So I'm sitting there, I get out, I'm in a suit, I'm way out of place. And then I get a phone call. And so I sit back in the car and I have a phone call that lasts about 15 minutes probably. And when I look up from that phone call, I've got a pair of red and blue lights flashing behind my car. And I'm like, what is going on? And this little old lady in one of the apartments saw me out her window and was like, this guy is out of place. He must be a drug dealer. And she calls 911. The cop that showed up was like one of my fraternity brothers from college. So he knew who I was. He knew I wasn't a drug dealer. But yeah, I have been mistaken for a drug dealer before.
Oh, my God. Mom, I've seen Mom get pulled over so many times. And the cop's like, oh, hey, Joe. Or hey, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, just go a little slower. Like never seen her get a ticket. But
Mrs. Barron, I'll see you on Wednesday for spaghetti.
Yes. Yeah, I'll see you at Movie Warehouse on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Question 2. You ready?
Yes.
All right. You mentioned absorption just a moment ago. What is absorption?
Absorption means that you're filling vacancy. You're filling it up, right? Or would it be the opposite?
Well, so you're about 70% there. Okay.
You're filling up.
What absorption is?
It's like a sink full of water, and you've got a sponge, and you squeeze the sponge, you put it in, it soaks up the water. So now the sink is vacant, but the porous holes in the sponge are full of water.
Yes. Basically, absorption just tells you over a specific period of time, normally a year, how much space has gone from vacant to occupied. If we had 100,000 square feet at the beginning of the year, that was occupied. And we had 120,000 square feet at the end of the year that was occupied. We would have experienced absorption of negative 20,000 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now you know. Now I know. All right. Question 3. What makes Owensboro a challenging industrial market?
There is no through, like there's no through highway. You kind of have to go to Owensboro on purpose. You don't typically accidentally drive by it.
Yeah, exactly right. We're not on an interstate. We're not on a major park. Actually, we have 2 major parkways that end in Owensboro, meaning you have to go here on purpose. You don't just happen to drive by. We're not really on the way to anything, and it makes it more challenging for our industrial market. And as a result, we have less industrial square footage than you would expect for a market our size.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. What does the CREPI index tell us?
This is probably more specific, but it's an indicator of it looks at about 10 different forward-looking indicators that tells you what you could probably kind of predicting the future of what the market will do.
Yeah, I think it stands for Commercial Real Estate Performance Index. If you look at it, it will tell you in a predictive way, are things getting better or worse? Should we expect things from where we are now to get better or worse? And that's what it tells you.
Yeah.
Really, really good tool. And I got to come up with a 5th question here.
Yeah.
Or can we just go with...
Because I'm 3 for 4. I mean, it would help my percentage if we had one more. You can come up with one more. Easy. Think about the different submarkets, and there'll be a question in there somewhere.
How about this instead? What are the benefits for going out and getting the information to do a market report like this?
More accurate information.
Okay. Like
there's
it's
more
primary source. I went and got it myself. It's more accurate information.
Yes. You're not relying on somebody else's information that could be wrong, out of date, you are seeing it for yourself, more accurate.
So that you can do what? Like, if you go out and do that yourself, it is more accurate. And what will that allow you to do?
Make better decisions on deals you're going to make to more accurately look at the potential profits.
Yeah. So if you're an investor, it's going to allow you to make better decisions. Okay. Because you're going to know your market cold. If you're a broker, you're going to know your market cold, and you're going to be more valuable to your prospects and your clients because you can help them make better decisions. So, yep.
Basically, it makes you more valuable if you go look at it yourself, the information.
Yeah. Or get the information.
What percentage of the time would you say you go get the information yourself? Or I guess it depends on the deal too, but.
Well, if I'm looking at market-wide data and I was new to the business, I would go do it myself just to learn my market. There's nothing that will allow you to learn your market faster than creating a report like this with primary information that you've gone out and gotten yourself. It'll help you develop relationships with owners and tenants, appraisers and lenders and all these people that you can get information from. As you progress in your career, you might not do that every time. And so what I just showed you was a combination of our own data that we have access to, that's secondary data, and it's a combination of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Nice. Cool. All right. Love you, brother.
Sounds good, brother. Love you.
Bye. Bye, Al.
Bye, Alice.
Bye, Alice. Bye.